Recording. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans for Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and the Sign and Thrive Notary Training Course and Community. We've got our co-host, Laura Biewer, founder of Coach Me Laura. Hi, Laura. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me here.
Always glad when you can make it. So you're not teaching any live classes in California right now, right?
Yeah, all live classes for California are canceled through April 30th for the NNA. What I have been doing is hotline work.
Excellent.
Lots of calls.
I bet there's lots of
questions.
calls. Yeah, excellent. And we're going to get a chance to talk about that here in a little bit too, guys, because I know we have some burning questions, especially, about remote online notarization right now. We have lots of questions about what's happening and how notaries are working in this environment. And we've got some other ideas too for what you can do if you are sheltered in place or have an at-home or stay-at-home order and things like that. So we'll get into that here in just a moment. Carol Ray, are you with us yet? I don't see her on here. That's okay. We'll give her a couple more minutes to join us. For right now, instead of doing the traditional, what are you excited about this week?
Excuse me, Carol is here. She's muted.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Carol, if you're here, I know you know how to unmute yourself. You can jump in here anytime you're ready. There she is.
Oh,
there she is.
No, you didn't hear that. I said there's a lot of people would like to see me muted.
It's all part of our plans. Dang it. Excellent. Thanks, Carol Ray, founder of Notary to Pro. Carol, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So, Carol, I was just letting everybody know that this week, instead of doing the traditional, what are you excited about, we've all been looking for ways to help out the community in our own way. I know we all each have our own community and way of supporting each other. And what we wanted to do here before we get started is just let you in on a few special offers that are coming up. We're constantly trying to find different ways to add value to your lives and the lives of this community. Carol, can you tell us a little bit about the special promotion that you've got going on right now?
Well, we have ongoing promotions. We have military discounts. We do 2-for-1 for husbands and wives. Right now, we do have a special in one of the groups where there's a lot of new people that aren't working, and we're kind of giving them a break. But one of the things that if we're not about compassion and understanding, Notary to Pro is about nothing. And so we have people, we allow them to make payments, and we're giving people way extra time. I mean, if they've got a problem, we let them know. Just let us know when they're ready. And really, it's just being human and, trying to do the best we can for us and for our students.
Yeah, I love that. And I think both you and I have a promotion tied to the private Facebook community called Safe Haven for New Notaries. That was one of those that was started by Jason and Valerie, and we love supporting that, and it really is a really safe environment. So I'm going to post the link there now. If you guys have not joined Safe Haven for New Notaries yet, this would be a great way to, number one, if you're already a professional and an expert, you can contribute to the learning of others inside that group and community. And then also, if you're brand new, it's a great place to get some additional support and a safe place to ask those questions. So Carol has a promotion tied to anybody who's a member of that. I do as well. So on my personal promotion right now, I am offering a free 30-day trial. You get full access to Sign and Thrive plus the Morning Mastery program. That's kind of the advanced stuff that I used and put into place to take my income from $1,000 a month to making $20,000 a month. That's all included in Sign and Thrive. You get a full 30 days, no questions asked, stay as long as you want, cancel at day 29 if you want. I don't take that stuff personally. I think it's just really important that we maximize and optimize the time that we have If you're not out there working, we should be learning and growing ourselves in our business so we can hit the ground running when this thing clears up. So I'm going to put the link to that. All I ask is, in the interest of staying in integrity, this is a special promotion that is for members of the Safe Haven group. So if you haven't yet, please join the private Safe Haven group, and then you can take advantage of the special offer that I have there with the link in there as well. And I'm just going to mute who's ever trying to talk, guys. We're not quite ready for questions yet. And then Laura, last and definitely not least, how's it going and what are we doing here?
A lot of you have already tried out my video series, my replay library, and have shared with me how valuable that was and how it helped you expand whatever it is you're doing now. And so I have a special discount for anybody following TNT, and TNT would be your code. So if you are a TNT follower, and you have not taken advantage of my video series, then here's your opportunity. Some people wait till whenever I do the next skill builder, but I don't know exactly when that's going to be. So if you are waiting, now you don't need to wait because I'm going to give it to you now. The other thing is I am getting more calls and I'm happy to get them. And if you would like to reach out to me, these calls are
Laura, you just muted out. I'm sorry.
you can go to my website, which is coachmelaura.com, and hit schedule call. It will take you to my calendar and you can schedule a call. And that call does not have to be about the video. If you're wanting to just know information about your state, if you're wanting to know information about marketing, if you're wanting to know information about remote notarization, if you have any kinds of questions, they don't have to be related to my video specifically. I'm happy to take your call, but I am asking that you go through the scheduling process so I can give you 100% of my attention when you call me.
Fantastic, Laura. Thank you for that. So I posted the link for all three of us inside the chat window. Please feel free to use anything that would help you right now. So thank you guys for being here. We're going to jump right in. And if you don't mind, Laura, Jeff just posed the first question here.
Yeah.
After filing my bond at the county clerk, what do I do if I have not received my bond back to update all of the companies or platforms for which I work? My commission expires this Friday, March 27th. 2020. Any suggestions for Jeff?
Well, I just want to make sure I'm understanding his question. First of all, how did he file his bond? Because that makes a difference. If he filed it in person, then that commission is active the first day of the commission term. If he did it by mail, then he has to wait until he receives the filed bond, the conformed copy, back to himself. And when he gets that, then he can start using it. That's the first part, I think, of his question. The second part is, updating all of the companies that he's working for. And I wouldn't wait for them to send you something that says you're not current. Go through your list of clients and go to each one and update them with the information. Even if you don't have the bond confirmation back, get those platforms updated right now. If you get a call and you don't have your confirmation, you can turn that down, that one call down. But at least you will be active in their database.
Excellent. Awesome. This is, Curtis, all offers are available to basically anybody who's on this call right now. All of these offers, brand new, experience, it really does not matter where you fall on that spectrum. We're here to support you and help you any way we can. So all of the offers that we're talking about, with the exception of with Carol's and with mine, ours are very closely tied with that private Facebook group, the Safe Haven for New Notaries. It's a special promo just for the members of that group. So if you haven't yet joined it, all we're asking is to please join that private Facebook group and community so you can contribute or get some additional support, and then you can take advantage of any of these promos. Okay, great. And then as far as repeating the offers, we're not going to repeat the offers right now. Sorry, Sandra. They're in the chat window. You can scroll up and see some of those. Plus, there will be a replay on this. But I want to jump into the questions, and we want to make sure that we're giving you guys as much value as possible today. So Linnell asked, how much is the bond for a notary signing agent? Your bond is not necessarily required for the notary signing agent component. Your notary, if required in your state, your bond, if required in your state, is usually for your notary commission. If there is a requirement, you'll usually have to get that ahead of time before you can even become a notary public. Not every state requires that. And the cost of that will vary as well. But to give you an example, I'm based in Arizona, and to have a $5,000 state mandated bond that covers me all 4 years of my commission, it was only $26. And it will vary from state to state. Laura, anything else that you'd like to add on that?
Oh, just as another example, the 4-year bond that you can get from the NNA for California, it's a $15,000 bond, and it's $38 for the 4 years. So you can see there's a lot of variation. And not every single state requires a bond, but most of them do.
Beautiful. All right, we're going to open this up to live questions. You can either raise your hand or just ask ask the question in the chat window. I'm going to do my best to get most of the questions here. Whitney has a great question. She says, hi, I'm a new notary loan signing agent from my state. My neighbors are elderly and in the first stages of dementia, both husband and wife. They each have power of attorney over each other, and they are interested in signing over their home to their eldest son. They would like for me to notarize the signatures and have decided to provide uninvolved witnesses. Should I direct them to an attorney, or am I able to perform this notarization if both are attentive at the time? Laura, I'm turning this right over to you. What are your thoughts on this?
So, utilizing a label like somebody has dementia, whatever stage, isn't the whole story. And what's important for us as notaries, except for a few states, very few states, our job isn't to determine their competency. Our job is to see, are they alert and aware at the moment with me? And if they're alert and aware at the moment with me, meaning if I say, this is what kind of document it is, you've named somebody that you're giving permission to do something for you, or you're signing this document and now you're giving ownership of this house to so-and-so, that they can respond to you. And you don't have to present the questions in yes or no fashion. And I would surely suggest that the eldest son, the one that's involved, not be there during this appointment so they can speak freely with you. And having 2 uninvolved witnesses is excellent, because they can also be, you can add them into your journal as additional information as 2 other people who observe them to be alert and aware at the time that signing took place. And so their symptoms or their behavior are what drive me to say yes or no, whether or not they have any kind of diagnosis. It's how are they behaving with me? Can I communicate with them? Are they responding appropriately to me? Can they follow my instructions and directions? So I would do it if they met those requirements.
Fantastic. Excellent suggestions. Thank you, Laura. I always love that. And then Matt Miller brought up the elephant in the room, right? Because I think this is so important that we be able to talk about some of the, for lack of a better word, unusual ways that these title companies, signing companies, lenders are suggesting that notaries be able to complete their duties, which many of them are outside the integrity of the law for sure. And I think we should talk about that. Carol, I would really love to hear what you're running into and what you're sharing with your students in this regard. Have you seen any of this? And you're muted if you're talking. Are you here? Did we lose her? Oh, there she is.
Okay.
There you go.
I've completed the difficult task of the day to unmute myself. I'm not running into a lot of things, a few things that I hear from the students, and I have to really straighten them out. One of them is that there's a big discussion about now is this curbside signings, these curbside, and there's more than 1 or 2 now doing them. And I'd like to know what everybody else thinks about it, because to me it's ridiculous. And yes, they are asking us to do things that are just not right, not legal. And I'm just talking to my students, telling them if they do it in home, if they insist on going out and doing the signings, that's their choice. And for right now, they're still allowed to do this, but take all the precautions, the phone call, the confirmation, making sure everybody's healthy, nobody's traveled, the usual stuff, and making sure that the person that they're going to see understands that they too are taking precautions. The notaries, wearing gloves, cleaning, making sure their equipment's clean and everything. But yeah, as far as the illegal stuff, I'm sure I haven't heard it all, but it's ridiculous, some of it.
Yeah, totally agree. Laura, what are you hearing? What are you running into? I'm
So,
sure you're all kinds
yeah,
of.
I'm hearing some pretty crazy stuff. Of course, just to address what Carol said, the curbside deal, of course, is so onerous. When you've got, if you have one document or two documents, I don't know that it's a big deal. But when you've got so many things to take care of, 150 pages or 200 pages, and you're stepping back 6 feet and walking back over, and they're coming in and they're coming out. I just personally, this is just my personal take, is it's not doable for me in that manner. And the calls that I've received, a lot of them today on hotline were, hey, can I Skype? Is that what remote is? I can just Skype now? Like, no. And in the places where they can remote, it's not Skyping. It's not Zoom calls. That's not what it is. You have to have a special platform. Do you have an e-seal? Because it's not paperwork, it's electronic. And by the way, you need to be registered with your Secretary of State. And then they realize, oh, I thought I could just video it with my phone. And so there's a lot, because of these suggestions and because there are states where it's perfectly legal to do remote notarizations, there's confusion amongst those who don't know what it is. And they hear remote and they're thinking of all the other easy ways in which we video chat or call, and that then they can just mail the documents back after they signed it by themselves in the house. So I doubt it's anyone on this call. Of course, this is the choir. But I will tell you, if you hear about that, I know there's a bill federally that's in process. Nothing's happened there yet. Only one state has allowed emergency remote, that's New York. I don't even know the details of how they're implementing that. Even an emergency bill needs to have directions for notaries so they know what to do. And the rest of us, where it's not remote right now, it's still not remote right now. And as soon as, I hear and an A tells me they hear something different, I will be all over the place sharing that right away. But for right now, I think there's a big balance between maintaining the integrity of the notarial process, balancing that with the safety of my client, and most importantly, my own, because everything I do doesn't impact me anymore. It's not just a personal choice, do I want to go out there or not? Who am I impacting? Am I impacting my family members, my mother who's 80? Who else do I come in contact with? So lots of things for us to consider, and I am not going to judge anybody who decides that we are essential and what I do needs to happen and I'm going to do it. Then that's your choice. That's what you need to do. I just want to make sure you continue to consider the balance between maintaining what you're supposed to accomplish. Otherwise, we just turn into rubber stampers, and that's not what we are.
My daughter is not doing signings at all. We're in Northern California because of my husband and I. We've had some health problems. I'm 77, he's 82, and she doesn't want to take a chance of bringing anything back that could put us in jeopardy.
Excellent. I love that. And then Laura, thank you so much for the in-depth information on the Ron stuff too. And here's what I would encourage you guys to always remember is that our role as a notary public is an important one. And the reason that we exist is to help prevent fraud and identity theft. So if we have to sacrifice, if some of the corners that we're cutting are the most important part of our job, which is making sure people are who they say they are, that they are signing these documents of their own free will, then we shouldn't be doing the job at all. Like, if you can't do it in integrity, don't do it. I love how creative people are getting. I love that we're thinking outside the box, but we cannot step outside the bounds of the integrity. Right now, I'm telling you that there are people capitalizing on panic, people capitalizing on people cutting corners and rushing bills through. The fraudsters are going to be out there, and you may unknowingly get caught up in that if we are cutting corners, if we're dropping documents curbside, if we're not touching IDs, if we're not getting signatures in the journal book, all of that. There's no senator or congressman in the world who's going to take the responsibility for the notarizations that you perform right now. You are still in charge of your office, the public office that you hold. So I encourage you to, no matter what, stay in integrity with that.
And you brought up an important point. Feeling the identification, feeling those driver's licenses, because there are things that will indicate whether it's a fraud or not. And sometimes it's not just by looking at it, it's by touching it and feeling it. There's certain bubbles, certain things that can appear in a license that's been forged.
Exactly. Super important. All right, excellent. Thank you, guys. And thank you, Matt, for bringing that up. I know, so here's the other part of this, guys. You are getting constant pressure from people who don't care about the integrity as much as we should. That's our job. It's like we're the last line of defense. The lenders are pushing things through. They're sending emails to their customers. They're like, oh, don't worry. The notary is going to drop the package on your doorstep and then call you and walk you through the documents. We know that's not kosher. That's not okay. So no matter if the lender, we know we talk about the lenders being the boss, still we cannot sacrifice the integrity of our office to appease a lender or a title company or whatever it might be. Even I, with close relationships with my clients, we're getting pushback because they're feeling so much pressure to get this. Like down here in Phoenix, nothing's changed. I mean, it's booming. It's busier than ever. And they're feeling all this pressure to close these loans because you got people who can't self-quarantine themselves without a house. So they're feeling all of this. So we're getting tons of mixed messages. So stand strong and resolute in who you are and what role you perform here.
It was like the old days when they wanted us to backdate.
Yeah, or another example. Yeah,
another example. I just had a call today just to tag on to what we're talking about, this idea of integrity. It was a paralegal who's working from home now. The attorney is working from home. They're doing trust documents, and both of them are notaries. The attorney asked his paralegal to go find a traveling notary to go take care of these trust documents for elderly clients. So he's a notary and he's not willing to go to their home. She's a notary. He doesn't want her to go to their home. He wants her to go find some other traveling notary willing to go to this elderly couple's home to sign those documents. What does that say? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think we better talk about too, because I know I've already seen some chatter in there too about this idea of whether or not our role is considered essential or non-essential. Carol, what's your take on it? Any feedback, opinion, or?
Somebody just told me today we had a video recording. In fact, I want to talk about it a little bit later, but we just did a video thing on networking. And of course, we brought up the whole, thing that's going on now with the flu and stuff. And somebody just got a notification from their state, from Texas, I think, that said they are considered essential. I'm hearing in California that we're told we're not essential.
Yeah. So what I found is the Department of Homeland Security considers the financial arena, including settlement services and our lending services. They consider that. Jason, I see that you want to ask a question. I'm just keeping you on mute though, because we can hear your background. I'll come back to you. So from the federal government side, All right, Jason, I'm sorry, I got to keep you muted. We have background noise. So the federal side is saying that we might be tied to essential services. However, like the state of California, and I'll let Laura speak to this too, the Secretary of State's determined that it's non-essential, and there's fines tied. So Laura, can you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, and it's right. That's the information that the Secretary of State for California is putting out. And what I would say is I don't believe that the Secretary of State's office is the determiner of what's essential. I think those classifications of what was determined essential came from a different source. And now they're just interpreting it. So I think that really comes down, all that does is say, okay, if it's considered essential, you may go out and do your job. It's an essential job. It doesn't mean you have to go do it. It just is saying, okay, yes, within the scheme of things, we've said that this is part of what's essential to happen, and therefore it's okay for you to go do this. But I don't think the Secretary of State's offices for each state is the ones determining we're essential. I think that came from a federal level.
Right, exactly. I think it's the Department of Homeland Security that issued that. All right, excellent. Thank you for that, and thank you guys for bringing that up. I know it's top of mind for everybody. I'm going to jump to some of the questions we have here. And let's see. Joseph Paulo, if you want to unmute and ask your question, please feel free.
Yes, thank you.
Sure, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's so great, and I'm so glad to be here. And Bill, I gotta say, I love you. You are amazing, and Carol and Laura, it's unlimited amounts of knowledge, and I'm so thankful to be a part of this. And I'm brand new at the notary thing.
Awesome.
And I'm a certified notary signing agent. I haven't actually performed any signings yet, as I've recently been certified, and I went through the remote online notarization certification up front. And I'm in the process of getting the application all taken care of with my state. So I'm kind of wondering in which direction I should go. With everything going on in the world, it would be ideal to do the remote thing, but should I do wet signings first to get my feet wet, or should I try to just jump right into the remote thing?
Great questions. Great question. And thanks for being here, Joseph. Thanks for the kind words. I think that's probably a question that a lot of people are asking. I already see some people asking if this is the right time to jump into business or not, or how should we get started. Carol, I'd love to hear your suggestion, because I know you coach students all day, every day. Can you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's really important for you to get a background in, on the road, in the house, and, touching people, being there close to them, doing the notarization rather than starting off online. I think it gives you a better feeling about how you're helping people, what you're doing for them, where you're needed, where you're not. I would start off with that myself. I think doing the RON, learning how to do it is becoming increasingly more important. But I would definitely start off by doing what notaries have been doing for centuries.
Yeah.
Right.
And I tend to agree with that. I think we have to also be open to the idea that COVID-19 changes everything, depending on how this plays out and how long it takes. But being feet in the dirt, out there, tangible, touching paper, and looking at the document, hearing questions is a different experience. And I don't think there's any way to replace the experience and the training that you get from being in the field. Laura, do you have any opinion on this? Did we lose Laura? Oh,
She's muted.
Okay, I'm muted. I follow the rules. I'm a rule follower. I just stay muted. What can I tell you? I would say that I agree with Carol in that if you're brand new, just understanding what you're doing and what happens in that environment will give you a better understanding when you're having to do it ultimately remotely. So we know there's states where it's remote, and if you've never been in a loan signing where you've been in their home and gone through that process, I think you're missing something. And so I agree with Carol that it would be, if it's possible, it would be best if you could do that.
All right. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We'll catch you next time. Matt Miller, feel free to unmute and ask away.
I just wanted to add something about earlier, which I guess my question is you know, if a notary does engage in some of these suggested practices now, and something happens later on, you're still going to be held to account, yes?
That's absolutely right. That's why I said there's not a congressman or a senator that's going to step up and take responsibility for a notarization that you performed, even if somebody said, go for it. We just got to get it done.
Got it. I agree on that. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, you bet. Patricia Bridges.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for taking the call. Piggybacking on what he said, I just got several calls from title and signing services, and they were so happy to hear from me, and I told them I was happy to hear from you. And they said, well, we have some assignments. Are you available? I said, it depends. They said, it's curbside. I said, well, I'm so sorry I can't take it because NNA hasn't sanctioned it, nor has the Secretary of State for Illinois. And they went, you know, like, are you from countryside? No, I'm not. And they said, oh, okay. I said, I don't mind being in a garage or anything, but I'm not going to do any notarizations where I can't see. Most of them are in condos. How am I supposed to hold up the ID to the 29th floor? So they hung up. Then I got another call back from the same title company. I'm sorry, did you just talk to somebody and say that you were told no? I said, it has not been sanctioned. It's illegal. NNA is not sanctioning it, nor is the Secretary of State. I cannot put my commission in jeopardy. But if you have somebody that you like for me to see and call and let them feel assured that they're healthy and I can feel assured that they're healthy, I'd be more than happy. They hung up and called me again with a different variation. So they said, oh, okay, we just wanted to understand. So they're pushing this out here to see if you'll fall for the bait.
Yep.
If you let them know that you know your job, your commission, and what your value is, they go back. Because like you said, they've accepted all of these loan signings and they have to have somebody to do it, but they're not going to do it. They don't care if we're in jeopardy or not. And I just thought that I'd share that. I thought it was interesting. And I've done a couple last week, and I asked them, how do you have an elderly couple signing a mortgage and you're not there to help them, and they don't know how to do a remote while you're sitting in the car turning pages? And they said, yeah, we understand. I said, okay, well, listen, it's been great talking to you. Call me when you have something that you think I can do. Mm-hmm. We hung up.
Well, I know that's a difficult decision to make, Patricia, and it drives me nuts that we're forced to make decisions like that. You know, there's people, you know, so many of us that have to work. That's not even a choice, or you have a sense of duty to perform these duties. And then you've got this being pushed down your throat too. So I honor you for standing in integrity with that. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. And thank you all. And you all are awesome. And I did sign up, Bill. I'm going to Yale now.
Oh, awesome. I just finished week 1 on that, and I think I'm going to really enjoy it. That's the Science of Wellbeing course offered through Coursera. It's a Yale University course, and it's totally free right now, a 10-week course, and it started yesterday. All right, awesome. Cabana, welcome, and all you have to do is unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Bill.
Hey.
How are you? I did it. I have a question.
Sure.
I'm on my way to I'm on my way to a signing right now, And I didn't even think about the fact, because I'm new. This is my second signing. And I need to check about what I'm legally authorized to do myself in the state of Virginia. But anyway, I'm on my way. And this is I guess no question is a stupid question, but I was going through the documents marking where I'm supposed to sign. Am I the authorized agent? I can't remember, and I don't have time to go back to the test taking party to look.
Yeah. So great question. Whether or not you're the authorized agent is usually you're not. Usually the authorized agent is the settlement officer, unless it's on a document that pertains to your duties. So that's like your ID paperwork. If you're writing in ID information and it says settlement agent, that's typically you. You can strike through the settlement agent part and list notary public and initial it if you are compelled to do so. But that's the general rule of thumb. You're only the settlement agent or authorized agent if it's pertaining to the work you're doing at the appointment.
Okay, and that will be made obvious in the document?
Well, if you're filling in information on that document, that's your indication. That,
Got you.
This
like
has to do with me. Yeah.
Form, like that. Okay. And then my next question is, I don't know. I don't think so, because it didn't ask for my signature or for the seal. I've got a veteran's. This is a signing for a veteran, and I couldn't really see where they were asking for me to do my seal and notarize. Is there such a thing as I would administer a signing and not do my notary thing?
Okay, good question. So it depends on the type of appointment. If you're taking a loan application, a mortgage loan application, which can still be hundreds of pages, there's a good chance that you won't notarize anything in that because it's the preliminary paperwork. It's getting everything started. Most of the notarization comes at the end when you're doing the closing documents. So, and on VA, we see a lot of VA loan applications. That's because a lot of times they might be in a certain demographic where they don't do things electronically and they prefer to have wet signatures. So that could be what's happening there. And then also a major thing, and I think we should talk about this too, right? Is that difference, and maybe Laura or Carol, you can even speak to this, is that the use of the word seal and how that can be confusing, especially for a new notary. Laura, do you have a minute? Would you like to kind of talk about how seal might mean stamp and it might mean signature?
Yep, because I just made that mistake.
She's not here.
Oh, she's not here? What?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you. Yeah, we got you. Carol, you want to speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, and this is a big part of what I have to train because it's so confusing.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, we'll go back centuries when people used to apply seals as their signature, oftentimes wax seals, and it basically said that they were telling the truth.
Right.
They were it was like they were swearing.
Right.
Why the lenders are still putting the word seal behind the signature lines, I'll never know.
Okay.
On most of your documents that require your signature, you have the notarial certificate is usually in a box and usually at the bottom of the page. And when you see that, you need to, I don't know where you're getting training, but do you know about venue? Do you know what venue is? It's the place where your feet are planted or your seat is seated while you're doing the signing.
Oh, okay.
County and state, you've got to remember that. It's the most important. That's one of the biggest mistakes you'll make is getting the venue wrong. So if, for instance, they have Texas County of Tarrant, and you're sitting in your state in a certain county, you line through those. Just put a line through those, and you put your state and your county. That's where you sign it. And even if it doesn't say the word seal or stamp, it always has to have your stamp to make it fully legitimate. So you're going to do your venue,
Okay.
your date, the name of the party that you're witnessing,
Mm-hmm.
your signature, and on the line, under the line, you'll put your name as it appears on your commission, comma, Notary Public, and then your stamp.
Okay.
Does
So
that
I have
help?
to, it does. So I have to identify what page in the document is says venue.
And it'll step out to you. Your notarial certificate is almost always a specified area, oftentimes box, like a box around it.
Okay.
Yeah, your venue information is kind of your first hint that, oh, this is a notarization, because you're going to see state of, county of, you might say to wit or something like that. And then it has your,
That's what I was looking for, because in my first signing, like I was saying, this is my second one, it said that the state and the county, and it asked it, all those things were set up. I looked through the document 3 times and I didn't see it. So I just don't want to make a mistake.
yeah, no problem. And if you ever have a question when you're in a signing or right after or even before, Cabana, you can hit us up. Like you can schedule a call with me, and I have a document review call too. So we can go through, we can say, oh crap, what is this document? Just hit me up via text or via email first, and then we'll get that out.
Thank you. Wish me luck.
Cabana, you got it. Good luck. Go get it.
Thank you. Bye.
Angel Williams, you want to ask your question? You have to there you go.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Carol. It's Angel from Virginia.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Quick question. Mine is when we get to the other side of all of this chaos that is going on, what actually stopped me from doing the signings. I was a little uneasy. I stopped last week. It was because somebody probably see me vent this in Facebook. I probably wasted about 2 reams of paper, because for the 4 signings that I had, I would get to the table and the closing disclosure would be completely wrong. I'm talking $3,000 differences. Deeds are wrong. The names of the deeds are wrong. Just wrongness. And no one knows until I get to the table, and so like a call has to be made. That's how wrong it gets. And I just paused, because I was like, well, if I'm putting myself at risk, I'm potentially putting the signers at risk. I would think that lender and title are doing their due diligence to make sure the final is correct. And I think they're being too rushed that it's not. When we get to the other side of this, what is the due diligence that I can do so that way when I get to the table, I can minimize signers completely being blindsided by something wrong? Or is there anything that I can do about that? It just really perturbed me. Like, one was $4,700 difference, and the signers were like, I don't know where that came from. And we didn't close, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. I was like, yeah, everybody's risky, but you guys are sitting at home.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, those are significant changes. I haven't, even coaching students all the time, I haven't run into that many discrepancies on that large of a scale. So we can definitely talk about this and how we handle that. Carol, what do you think? How do you recommend people?
I'm seeing it all the time.
Wow.
It's really, and Angel and I talked when this happened. She had a couple of really bad ones. Driving long distance and then having to go through that was awful. I'm wondering, and I've been thinking about this, about doing one thing, and that's, well, 2 things. First of all, asking people ahead of time if they got their closing disclosure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Number 1,
Mhm.
did you get that? Did the figures agree? Everything okay to go? Okay. And if they say no, go through some of the figures with them on the phone and let them know, because it's a waste of everybody's time when the figures are incorrect. At least this would give them a chance to call their lender and say, look, the notary went over some of the figures with me because I needed to know what they were before I had them come out, and straighten it out before they ever get to the table. But the mistakes that are being made, I'm absolutely, it drives me insane. Being a retired escrow officer and a retired escrow manager with a number of people under my tutelage for all those years. And you know, Bill, I'm one of those, you know.
The
what
OCDs.
do you call us?
OCD. I love it. Yeah.
And that's exactly the way I was. And to see what's going on, and part of it is, I've got to tell you that when people go, what the heck are they doing? It's because the old time escrow officers are being replaced. And what we used to do is we did everything. You did everything. You sold, you took the escrows, you typed instructions, you ordered demands, you did with the title company. Everything was in your hands, including handling the trust, the money, the disbursements, everything. And now what's happening is they're letting go of the senior escrow officers, and they're replacing them with, excuse me, but young people who think they're doing some kind of a cute little office job or something. And they're each doing one little part. You got one person who types escrow instructions. You've got somebody else who does the demands and amendments. And you've got somebody else who disperses the funds. Not one person knows everything that they're doing. And you're bound to get mistakes that way. And that's what's happening. And it's pervasive and it's frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. And what we're experiencing right now is just a ridiculous amount of volume. And this is starting to even trickle down into the signing business right now because volume is really at an all-time high. Like lenders are still pushing things out. They're understaffed. They're overwhelmed. They're severely understaffed now. Title companies are feeling the same thing. So there's a lot of corners being cut, and I think a lot of errors will be made. The other thing too, I think is important to talk about is that sometimes there is a difference in the closing disclosure numbers and the settlement statement numbers that you see, because they're created by two different people. And I don't know if you'll remember from your training, but the closing disclosure is drafted by the lender, and then the settlement statement is drafted by the title company. And usually that document is a little more accurate because title escrow or closing agent has access to property tax, like the current property tax information, the daily interest and things like that is calculated to the penny usually.
That impound account has
impound account is funded, and they've got all that information. So that's not in and of itself not necessarily a deal breaker, right? Usually you can have a little conversation, but usually the difference is a couple $100 or a few bucks, maybe even a few pennies. To have it in the thousands though, that's deal breaker. And remember, you can even ask the borrower, you're like, would you like to get the lender on the phone right now to get this resolved? Is this a deal breaker for you? Because you never know what the conversation has been behind the scenes. So just ask them. That's a beautiful part of what we do.
I wish we could go back to those days when they used to give us the cell phone numbers of the loan officers.
Yeah. Well, and I think really good loan officers include that on page 5 of the closing disclosure, because
that's about 5% of those officers.
Yeah, that's right. Right. All right, let's get to the next question. Thank you guys so much. Leilani Robinson, welcome. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Leilani Robinson, or Leilani? You are muted. Going once, going twice. We'll come back to you. Marica, how's it going? You want to unmute and ask your question? There you
Hi, Bill.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi. I'm sorry. I'm new to Zoom, everybody, so please excuse me. Can everybody hear me? Hi.
Hey, how are you? Yep.
So nice to finally meet you, Bill. You are the bomb. I'm so glad I went with Sign and Thrive. I'm still new. I haven't done any signings or anything yet. But the chat. I'm reading the questions. My question is, and it was about 2 questions ago. I know Carol was speaking about the venue. So I know that I previously heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that some of the documents, because these files are coming from different states, and some of these companies are in different states. So say I'm out of Florida. So say I get a package and say the venue is already made up and it's already set to, say, Texas in the county of blank. When my time comes up to do the notarization within these packages, as stated, are we just crossing out the county and the venue information and putting our venue information where we are physically signing, or am I attaching a notarial certificate? Because and the reason why I asked this is because I was in actually a previous loan signing course, and just thank God I got out of it and I found you, Bill. But it was kind of worded that each time you see this venue and this notarial information where we have to notarize as NSAs, LSAs, that we are to attach a notarial certificate with our Florida, well, with my Florida language. So I was kind of confused on that. What's the toss-up? Do I leave the document because it is a part of the origination file? So am I leaving it and I'm just crossing out the venue information only? Or am I actually attaching my own notarial certificate from Florida?
Great question. I'm really glad that you brought that up. And we're gonna get an opinion from Laura and Carol on this as well. For the state of Florida, I'm not aware of any special wording or certificates that's required over there. And in most states, the exception I would say is probably California, but I'll let Laura and Carol speak to that. Striking out, you will strike through the incorrect venue, correct the venue, and then initial it. Never forget the initialing part. That's really important because technically you're the only one that can make any changes to that notarial block. But that is how simple it is. The general rule of thumb is no expectation to replace that with notarial wording. Now, Carol, have you experienced anything different for the state of Florida?
No, and for most every state except California, if you have documents from another state, which happens all the time now, excuse me, and it bears the state and county of the where it would normally be signed, which was within the confines of that state, we all agree, line through it, initial it, put your state, your county, where your feet are planted. Always remember that. You'll never forget it once you get that in your brain, right? Because it's where the document is being recorded that matters. And if it's being recorded out of state, they're certainly going to accept the certificate from that state. There's a few variations when it comes to California, which Laura can speak to.
Awesome, thank you. Laura, what do you say to this?
So I'm going to speak to more than California. I'll start with California, which is that we have to have our own state wording if it's a jurat, no matter what state it's going to. If it's an acknowledgement, it's sometimes I can use the other state's wording and sometimes I cannot. When I can use their wording, meaning they're not certifying anything I'm not allowed, then I would strike, initial, and put the correct verbiage and leave their certificate there. If it has certifications I'm not allowed to make, then of course I would replace it with my own. Let's talk about other states. There are other states that may have notarial wording for an act that you don't have in your state. Witnessing is probably the most common one. So for instance, I get a package from Georgia and the notarial act is witnessing. I cannot just fix the venue. That's not acceptable for me because I don't have that notarial act in my state. And there's only 17 states that have that act. That means there's a lot more of us who don't have it than do. So if you cannot recognize that it's an acknowledgement or a jurat, and that's the only notarial acts you can perform, you're going to need to go back to title or to the lender to find out what is acceptable replacement. Witnessing act, for instance, means I need a notarial act that forces me to watch them sign. The jurat forces you to watch them sign. The acknowledgement doesn't. So that typically is where I would go. And there are some other nuances as well in some states. And regarding Florida, they just came out with brand new certificates that indicate if it was physical presence or audio visual. So I'm still trying to look, and I'll look while we go on, but you may now have a change where you cannot use another state's language. You will have to use Florida because of that new language that's required.
Right.
So before, Florida was, everybody's state, no big deal. But now Florida has very specific language. So be careful about that. I think you need to replace.
Nice.
Okay.
Excellent. Love it. Great question, Erica.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you, Laura. And again, I was actually going to bring that up, and I saw a couple people put in the chat that yes, because with 2020 in January, they did change their language. So I actually updated my direct and my acknowledgement to reflect the physical or the remote appearance. So that's why I was asking, because I know some of these packages may not have that language. And if I'm in Florida and if, I need to change the venue, then my concern is do I need to attach a new notarial certificate because my state requires us to check whether or not it's physical or it's a RON. So that's why.
Exactly.
So that would even, I'm sorry, that would even,
go ahead.
I was just going to say that'll supersede whether the venue's there or not. If you have to replace, if you have to replace it because you're required to, you're just going to replace it regardless of what the venue says on there.
That's right. And I just checked your state law for your certificates, and the third one down is you must be able to indicate whether your signer appeared personally at the time of notarization by physical presence or by means of audiovisual. So since that is a requirement for your certificate, unless somebody else's certificate has the same requirement, don't use it. Use your own.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Okay. And with that said, do we now leave the certificate that we are not going to use that originally came with the packet? Should I leave that with the packet and still just attach mine, or should I remove their certificate altogether and just simply attach mine? What would be the best practice for that?
Laura,
I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Laura. I was bouncing.
Leave the one there and write "C" attached with your initials, and then slip the other one behind it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Great question. And then another question that we had on there, two questions to follow up on that, Laura. Do you X through the other notarial block?
So if I haven't used it at all, there's no need for me to strike through. I can just write "C" attached. I minimize how many times I got to strike anything because lenders don't like it. So if I can avoid that, I do. The only time I'd strike that notarial block is if I started filling it out and then realized it was a problem. Then I would strike it and put "C" attached. But if I didn't do anything, then just write "C" attached in your initials.
All
awesome.
right. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Another follow-up to that, can we charge extra if we have to do all this replacing?
No, that's part of your notarial fee. That's what that big $2 covers, don't you know?
Yeah, so you can't charge extra, unfortunately, for that. Okay, guys, we are running out of time, but we have a few more questions. We'll take one more. Anna DeCayan, I'm sorry. You want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes. Hi, Bill. Hello, everyone. The question I have actually kind of piggybacks off of what everybody's been talking about with the notarial certificates. In California, we cannot acknowledge capacity. So I'd like for you to actually talk about that. Specifically, I had one recently where it had John Doe, comma, an individual. So am I to line out an individual?
Individual is not capacity. You can certify that somebody is a person, just themselves. Okay. That's when they're representing another entity, company, or person. So when you're signing as an individual, you're only representing yourself, which is perfectly fine.
Okay. So, and I knew about the company, like if it's as a company or vice president or position within a company. So, okay, got it.
Okay.
All
Great.
right. Awesome.
Thank
Great,
you.
guys. Guys, we had a few questions we didn't get to. I'm so sorry. Feel free to submit those to orders@notarycoach.com, and we'll try to get those on next.
Bill, can I make a quick announcement?
Absolutely. Please
May
do.
I? We just had a meeting this morning, a webinar this morning, about a group of my graduates who got together, 3 women who got together in the coastal area, and they formed a networking group. And it's really interesting. We talked about what's going on today, but we also talked with the owner of a big signing service. She was with us. And I'm going to be sharing that video, if I can figure out how to do it, on notary2pro.com on our homepage. We'll be having that recorded. So anybody who's interested that wants to see it later on.
Fantastic. I love it. All right, guys. Lots of cool, exciting things coming up. We've got the special promos. I'll follow up with the details of those, with the links in the email with the replay. Thank you guys for growing yourself and your business on the Tuesday. This is, I know for Carol, Laura, and I, this is one of our favorite times of the entire week. So thank you for being here. We'll see you later.
Bye.